90 to downtown. How about 24? From the Stevenson, we're looking at 28 minutes from the Veterans Memorial Tollway to Lakeshore Drive. The Bryant, 14 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 11 minutes, I-80 to the Verge. Bishop Ford, 13. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our AM 560 Weather Center. Steve Williams.
Sun and clouds today, the high 41. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 27. Mostly sunny for tomorrow and Saturday, the high both days at 45. AccuWeather's Minutecast has expanded to 4 hours. Download the newly redesigned app today. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
33 at O'Hare. Next news, 7:30. Continuous news coverage at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com.
From the Matrix Home Solutions Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. And New York Governor Party Nips gave another run at an apology. This is second try. See if you think he was any more successful than in his first try.
First, I fully support a woman's right to come forward. And I think it should be encouraged in every way. I now understand that I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable. It was unintentional, and I truly and deeply apologize for it. I feel awful about it, and frankly, I am embarrassed by it, and that's not easy to say. But that's the truth. But this is what I want you to know, and I want you to know this from me directly. I never touched anyone inappropriately.
Really? Because that's how you greet people, though, Governor Cuomo.
You can go find hundreds of pictures of me kissing people, men, women. It is my usual and customary way of greeting.
Yeah. The problem with that is there are many problems with that. And by the way, I would have expected a better performance from an International Emmy Award winner.
Yes, please step up your game, sir.
The third accuser is all over the New York Post and other outlets. Picture from the wedding with Cuomo's hands on her cheeks. This is somebody who didn't know nipple studs before that wedding. And that picture, to me, lends a lot of credibility to her suggestion that he put his hand on the small of her back and she had to swat it away, right, and then grabbed her by the cheeks, which we see pictured, and tried to kiss her, saying, "Can I kiss you?" And she turned away.
And the look on his face, though, that aggressive look, like he's biting his lower lip, that says a lot, too.
And by the way, just as a quick aside, I've been trying to figure out who he sounds like since we've had to endure so much of
his whining
pablum over the last few weeks.
Who?
He sounds a little bit like Christopher Walken. Not exactly Christopher Walken, but more like Jay Moore doing a Christopher Walken impersonation.
It's good to be here. At my age, it's good to be anywhere. That was a joke.
And, the same madcap sense of humor, which was the effort he made in his first non-apology apology to chalk this up to his just zany way of joking around with subordinates. So how is this playing? Well, Newsmax did a little man on the street outside Grand Central Station and asked random New Yorkers, some who support Cuomo, you'll hear why, if they think Cuomo should resign.
Andrew Cuomo, should he resign?
Absolutely.
Why do you say that?
Sooner the better. He's the worst governor in the history of the state. Usually where there's smoke, there's fire, I find.
Who do you trust more, Andrew Cuomo or Chris Cuomo?
Neither.
Should he resign? What do you think?
I like Cuomo.
Why do you like him?
He's Italian. I'm Italian.
Rudy Giuliani was too.
I don't like him, sorry.
Boo. Bye, Cuomo. Bye, Andy.
They have to wait for the investigation.
There should be an investigation first.
Nah, he shouldn't resign. I don't think so.
Should he retire? Should go to jail?
Sorry, dude. You f***ed up.
Governor Andrew Cuomo, should he resign?
Yes.
Should he resign? Should he be impeached? What are your thoughts?
I think he should. I think there needs to be an investigation to be fair about it.
It's not looking good for him. He's gonna need women to come out in his defense. I mean, Melissa DeRosa, she should be speaking out for him. I mean, that's the only way he's gonna be saved.
What is your biggest concern? Is it the sexual harassment allegations or what he did with the nursing homes?
There's a long list.
Cuomo had no problem getting his brother on there with the prop and the fake Q-tip and laughing it up. It would be like, Giuliani being on CNN laughing it up while bodies burned in the buildings on September 11th. Guy's writing a book about leadership. Guy has audacity.
Audacity indeed. Oh, by the way, on Cuomo, the Intrepid Pointer Institute, upholding the canons of journalism, as a last resort, has now weighed in and said, Fredo Cuomo, they didn't use Fredo, he shouldn't have interviewed, he shouldn't have had brother nipple studs on the show, because now that he won't have him on the show, it shows a real conflict of interest. Conflict of interest having him on the show, and then the double standard not having him on the show now to field questions about both scandals. Yeah. And the Pointer Institute.
Oh, good for you.
What a joke. And the Pointer Institute and their lethargy in responding to examples of hackery in supposed journalistic circles is exactly why journalism is a punchline these days.
Yeah, I mean, it was an act. I mean, when he was single, he's trying to find him love because he was the love gov.
Want a pat on the back? Love gov? Even if it's the love gov from New York. Do you think that you are an attractive person now because you're single and ready to mingle? Do you really think you are some desirable single person and that this is not just people's pain coming out of them? Love gov?
I've always been a soft guy. I am the love gov. I'm a cool dude in loose mood. You know that.
Yeah.
I mean, he used his platform on CNN to try to get his brother hooked up with a chick.
Oh, please.
I mean,
whatever.
It's just
those
ridiculous.
two
It's not
and that
journalism.
ridiculous vaudeville act. And now we're supposed to take him seriously, and we're supposed to believe his passive-aggressive statement of contrition. Please. Honestly. By the way, the bigger issue, which was mentioned by some of those New Yorkers that were interviewed for that MOS piece, don't let this subsume the nursing home issue, because that is the bigger issue. Based on just the allegations we know so far from the women, it's a serious issue, fine. But it is not the sending sick people back into nursing homes and then covering it up. It doesn't rise to that level. That is the real crime here, and this is why you have so many left in the media saying, we need to hold Cuomo accountable so they can't accuse us of double standards like our friend Jeet Hare over at New Republic. Yeah, the nursing home scandal, the COVID-related performance, Mr. Bestseller, that's Mr. International Emmy with the wonderful press conferences. That is the fundamental issue as far as a reason to force his resignation or move his impeachment. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Chris Smith, author of The Daily Show, the book, An Oral History, as told by Jon Stewart, the correspondence, staff, and guests. He's also a contributor at New York Magazine and contributor to Vanity Fair. Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Morning. So you've penned a piece on Governor Cuomo as well, and suggesting that his canonization may have been a bit too early, or certainly it is making the fall that much greater.
Yeah, I'll answer that question, certainly, but two things from your lead in there. Props to the men and women in the street who were interviewed by Newsmax who knew incredible detail about New York politics, including members of the governor's staff. That was impressive.
Yeah.
Second, Christopher Walken is a good comparison.
Yeah, thank you.
Also a Queens guy like Governor Cuomo.
He also does that
So
thing, not to get too far down this rabbit hole, but he also does the thing that Walker does, which is turn one-syllable words into two-syllable words.
Oh, yeah.
Correct. I once ran into Christopher Walken in an elevator, but that's a different story, so we'll do that some other time. Anyway, yes, as I wrote back in, God, seems like forever ago, May of 2020 in Vanity Fair, the governor, while a lot of people appreciated his daily press conferences and his verbal sort of hand-holding through the early and middle days of the pandemic, there were a lot of holes in his policy response to it, even at that time, and he was being canonized in a lot of the media. Certainly his public approval ratings were soaring, and as we know from public life, from politics, what goes up must come down. And it came after a long history of the governor, abusing people, intimidating them, not physically, but for many, many years, screaming, yelling, transferring, all sorts of things that are, sharp-elbowed politics, but that had left him with no reservoir of goodwill in New York or national political circles for the most part. And that's coming back to haunt him loud and clear now.
Well, he said yesterday that he's not going to resign. His lawyers begged him not to go forward yesterday and have a press conference, but he did anyway. So what's next? I mean, if he refuses to resign and digs in his heel, and you have 21 lawmakers that want him to resign, what can they do?
Yeah, I mean, certainly an impeachment mechanism exists in state government here. We're nowhere near that actually coming into play. Those lawmakers who've come out and called for him to resign, the vast majority of them are either running for mayor of New York City and dislike him in general, or are to the left members of the state legislature. Not that they don't have legitimate, genuine complaints about the governor, but there are political agendas at work there as well. This sounds cynical, but in working in the governor's favor is time. Investigations take time. And the more distance he can put between these immediate accusations and running the government, showing that he's getting back to work and delivering from people, the better it is for him. The big
so long as
unknown
so long as there aren't more allegations.
Absolutely. This is what his staff and him, I'm sure, are holding their breaths about. Yes, if anyone else comes forward and has really detailed, credible accusations, that would be highly damaging. But the governor's not going anywhere anytime soon voluntarily. He's going to be negotiating a state budget over the next month, and that gives him, he's got a lot of power there to both punish and reward people who may want to move against him.
It's interesting. There's the operatives I've talked to who know the New York political landscape much better than I are sort of divided on this. They all agree that what you were saying, that Cuomo has no friends, and this goes back to his days as the political enforcer for his father. He's been rubbing people the wrong way and not making friends and influencing people for a long time. But there's divided opinion whether this is particularly a parochial matter about Andrew Cuomo, or this is in part a local matter and in part a national matter. And it's Democrats at the federal level wanting to keep him in New York or derail him altogether because of his national ambitions, and perhaps even some have theorized that this is a dress rehearsal for what Democrats may do with respect to Joe Biden if he doesn't hew the orthodoxy of the party and where the energy is in the party. The idea that, hey, you have these old allegations too that we can bring forward, and maybe there are others that we can bring forward, and this is sort of Damocles hanging over Joe Biden's head, the way that it was hanging over Andrew Cuomo's head until it got cut.
That's interesting. I find it a bit of a reach.
Okay.
Certainly the people who've broken the stories in New York, it's all over the map. The New York Times broke one of the big stories. The New York Post broke a lot of huge nursing home related stories. Cuomo's national ambitions, well, he's certainly had them for a long time, have always been pretty unrealistic. They're, at zero now, given the past few weeks. But he he and I think a lot of people in national Democratic politics knew that he wasn't going to D.C. He almost certainly was never going to be running for president. So nobody, on the national scene, he doesn't have a lot of friends. People are not unhappy to see him in the barrel, so to speak, at the moment. But I don't think anybody was particularly worried about him challenging them on a national level. What's more internal politics, in New York, and you have it, I'm sure, in Illinois and elsewhere, there are plenty of people in state politics who'd love to see him leave the job simply so they can move up,
Sure,
because
right.
he's had a stranglehold on state government for almost 12 years now and wants it to be for 16 years. And, there's a lot of highly ambitious younger people who would like to see the deck shuffled a bit.
Well, does anybody care about the nursing home investigation? I mean, you
Oh,
have
my
those
God,
21
yeah.
lawmakers that came forward, but where are they upset about that or about the nursing home tests?
Yeah, sure, there are a great many people upset about the nursing home scandal, and there are investigations going on there as well. Obviously, in the past 10 days, 2 weeks, that's been dwarfed in terms of media coverage by the sexual harassment accusations. You certainly can't say that the newest scandal is good news for Cuomo, but it has put the nursing home stuff on the back burner. That's not going away. When you're talking about thousands of people who maybe didn't need to get sick or die, that's the kind of thing that resonates with the public. And we don't have all the facts on that, and there are investigations continuing.
Well, I, for one, certainly hope he survives. I certainly hope he survives because he may be the only thing that can get a Republican elected governor in New York State if he were to be the nominee again come election time.
It cuts a lot of ways. I mean, because you talk to people in the business community here who, while, on a personal level, they're not any fans of the governor, see him as the only thing standing in the way between the state legislature passing a bunch of tax hikes on rich people and spending a lot more money. That he's been a moderating influence in terms of state government. So, there's a lot of conflicting currents at the moment around the governor.
He is Chris Smith, author of The Daily Show, the book, An Oral History as Told by Jon Stewart, the correspondents, staff, and guests, and contributing editor at New York Magazine and at Vanity Fair. Chris, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
What do you think is going to happen to our tax rates over the next few years? We all know the answer to that. Congress is going to have to pay for all the stimulus spending, trillions of dollars worth. So what could that mean for you? Higher taxes. Now is the time to protect 401k, IRA, and other investment accounts from future tax hikes. Tom Fortino and the team at the Alpha Wealth Group can help you do that. Tom can show you how forward tax planning can potentially save you money. How can someone give you investment advice without actually understanding the tax implications on that advice? If you're serious about retirement and have saved $250,000 or more, call Tom Fortino now.